Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm your host, Paul Jasson. Thank you for joining us, and it's a real special treat. We always, when we talk about big events in Lancaster, Fairfield County, I think we always reference first is the Fairfield County Fair, and then everything else is judged by that. That's the one event we always talk about. Well, it is almost fair time again. After kind of a rough year last year and a little different fair in 2020, this year it's back full go. 2021, it'll be another wonderful fair, and it's a pleasure to have with us today the folks that can talk about that. Jim Marcinko to my immediate right, who is the fair manager. Jim, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure having us.
Thank you. And Andrew Yost, who is a concessions manager, who has a big job this year with all that went on, and we'll talk about that too. But this is fair number, what year?
171.
171. Remarkable. Have you been here for all of them? No?
Not quite.
But you feel like you have sometimes.
Yeah. I'm getting to that point now.
Well, Jim, this year, after just a very strange and difficult year last year, things are back to what is kind of the new normal, however that is. But as far as the fair goes, it's all out. Let's have a great time at the fair again. Yep.
We got to have the rides, games, and all the animals, and Art Hall will be open and going, busy. So we'll have all the different events we have on for entertainment and all that too. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Art Hall for a second. Have you seen where you have as many participants as you had in the past, or are you able to tell that yet?
Well, as for our entries, we've had less right now so far. At the normal time, at this time at a fair, we're down some.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking that probably is partly due to COVID.
Sure.
Because the fact is people are afraid to go out.
Yeah, a lot of that's it's still a concern with a lot of people. But this year at the fair, no masks.
No masks. We're going to put signs up that they. Masks are recommended, but not required.
So if you feel like you need to wear a mask, absolutely wear that down there. That's not an issue. If you don't, you're fine too. But if you do,
right. That's the thinking. We want to try to keep people safe is the key, I think, as much as we can.
Now, what are the grandstand events this year?
Well, we have bull riding on Monday night. Mm-hmm. Bull riding, barrel racing, and then on Tuesday we have a concert with
Julian Neville.
All right, and then Wednesday we have our normal truck and tractor pull, which will be really nice.
That's always such a huge fun event.
And then we have I'm sure events you'd like to be in the Combine Derby on Thursday night.
I tell you, I look at those things out there, they look like dinosaurs out there fighting. They're so big, and they're going that's Thursday?
Thursday night. Yeah. And then we do
that's a loud one.
Yeah, that's loud. Yeah, that's right. And then we have our car demo derby Friday and Saturday.
Always a huge draw. A huge draw. You having horse racing this year?
Yeah, harness racing is Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. Yep, at 1:30 and 1 o'clock each day. So
my wife's brother lived in Germany. He worked for Stars and Stripes. He got out of the military and stayed in Germany. Worked for Stars and Stripes and retired there. But he would come home every several years. He'd make his vacation, come back home and see the family and all that. But he always timed it around the fair because he loved the horse racing. He and his dad would go up there and watch the ponies. That was just an exciting time.
Yep. And then
still get a good crowd for that?
Yeah, we still get a real good crowd. I know when we switched from 3 days to 2 days because we just didn't have the number of horses, we had a lot of people calling to complain about it. And they wanted to have 3 days.
Sure.
And then this year we redid the track. We just got done doing that, so it should be a lot better racing this year. Because it was getting kind of dangerous in some of the spots, like where they drive the cars in and stuff. It was getting low, and then it was going to be a bump there.
You don't want that.
Bouncing them out of the seat, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Andrew, you're the concession manager, and I would say last year certainly was challenging. This year, challenging again with perhaps the number of people you've had. Maybe some people wanted in, couldn't get in. You've probably heard lots of stories about COVID issues with all your concessionaires.
We have. A lot of the concessionaires are coming from previous fairs that they've been at, and the real hard part for them is finding enough workers for their booths, and or whether they even want to attend because of COVID-19. They are too afraid to attend, so we've had a few vendors that backed out, at least for this year.
And we're not talking about the local vendors, the local folks here, but
No.
the people that travel the circuit.
Correct.
Do they usually have, in the past, do they usually have a crew that they take with them that attend all these, or do they ever pick up people locally?
No, they do. They have a crew that follow them, and they stay with them for the
Okay.
entire season,
Yeah.
if you will.
Which goes through probably the pumpkin show here in a couple weeks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Jim, when you look at some of the fair stories, this is the last and greatest. We like to think
Right.
of that.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
last fair, the greatest fair in the state of Ohio. Have you learned anything by watching how all the other fairs have conducted business? Has there been lessons that you could learn?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of the earlier fairs, pretty much like the Pickaways and the Perry. They kind of did everything just like everything was normal because the numbers were down lower.
Sure.
But as the numbers have went up higher with the COVID, and things have kind of changed where they're putting signs up, where some of the other fairs didn't even worry about signs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely as the years went along, as summers went along, the COVID numbers have rose, so then that's kind of changed the way fairs do different things, So
Is the Pickaway Fair, is that one of the first? So that's kind of the one around here that I kind of see mentioned before any of the others. Is that one of the earlier
yeah,
ones?
that's actually the second fair.
Second fair in the whole state.
Paulding has the first one.
Okay.
They beat them by a couple days, and they pick away a second. Yeah.
And so the things that they did over there, that may not even pertain to what you
Right.
do now. That
Yeah.
many months ago, I mean,
Right, not that many
things have
months.
changed, gotten much better, and now maybe not as good.
Right, exactly. Yep, yeah. That's the thing. The numbers change, so you got to kind of go with the flow.
So we've talked about the art hall and places like that, and really the heart of the Fairfield County Fair is, I think, the young people and the animals. That's
Right.
where I think the agricultural aspect is the strongest. What are you seeing there in terms of young people with animals and things going on there?
Well, I think the numbers are about the same, I know like our beef numbers are up a little bit higher than last year, but I think most of the other ones are about the same as they were last year.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of them are down just a little bit, but I know rabbits seem like there's always a bunch of rabbits.
You still have the big championships toward the end there in the evenings.
Right.
There you'll have big crowds for that.
The auctions there on the Thursday and Friday. And then the champions we always put over in the 50 building, the Junior Fair Show Arena on the south side here for a display. Then for Friday, Saturday. So
Got Jim Marcinko, the fair manager, Andrew Yost, the concession manager, and Andrew. I would guess that once you've taken this job and you start talking to people have signed on. No cancellations. Everybody's 100%. Everything has been easy, smooth for your job.
No, actually, the opposite is true. We've had a lot of movement in one way or another, whether it was them skipping the year or actually just not doing it anymore, retiring and moving on to something
So
else.
some have just maybe said, maybe not this year, that have always come and say, maybe this isn't a good year for us, but we'll look next year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. They're just saying if we just need to skip a year and see what happens next year for them. And maybe they're trying to hold down their workforce from their store, and they just don't have the workforce to work at the tent during the fair.
And that becomes it with a lot of the, and I guess the ones I know about are the ones that have perhaps a business in town.
That's
and then
correct.
they also have a fair booth. Well, that either necessitates closing your business for the week if you can't get the people, or hiring new people, or getting, if you have any brothers or sisters or grandkids involved, they get involved. But it can be really difficult for a small family business.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to get through all of those aspects.
And from what I know about the concessionaires, at least in the past, there was always a waiting list of people trying to get into the fair, but everything was always filled. There's only so many you can have. But I imagine you've been able to utilize some of those
That is correct.
people that were on the list who never thought, well, here it is,
That's correct. We have, and we still have a list, as you know, because we can't fill utilize every
Sure.
vendor that would love to be out there. But it's been nice to have something to pick from, especially this year,
Yeah.
with those that are.
Been an asset to have that.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, sure. And Jim is what's the website now? I know you can go on the county website and find the fair because it's a county agency, but what's your website?
It's a www.fairfieldcountyfair.org.
And it's a great website. It's got all the programs you've got listed. Pretty much been able to fill up all the days and the evenings with everything as you've had in the past, it sounds like.
Yeah, everything's pretty much the same. We like to say we had the bull riding this year versus having the monster trucks we had before, just for a change of pace type thing. So, and then they try to get what's nice about them is they try to get some local people in there also.
Yeah.
For doing the bull riding and the
Well,
barrel
you want
racing.
that. You want the local people to add a little flavor to it like that.
You bring a little more crowd
Sure.
that way, so.
So
Yeah.
give us the dates again for the fair coming up real quick.
October 10th through the 16th.
October 10th through the 16th. Is the 10th? Is that Sunday?
That's a Sunday,
That's
yep.
Is that still the free day?
That's
Is it
still the free day,
open day,
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything but the
We
art
like to
hall.
keep that a secret, though.
Yeah, do you? Nobody knows about that. I tell you go by there on a beautiful day and it looks like you can't even breathe.
It's
In years
packed.
past, I mean, it's just wall-to-wall people. Now, I'm sure, again, that's a concern, but again, people can feel that if they need to wear a mask out there, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
If they don't want to, that's perfectly fine.
Right, and we'll have hand sanitizing stations around everywhere, hand wash stations and all that too.
I assume the health department, they're probably uppermost in checking all your concessionaires this year. They sure want to make sure everything's good.
And they do, and they will.
Yeah.
They'll be out there, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's an exciting time, you guys. I imagine you're ready for it now. Let's move on and let's get ready. You've been planning this for a year, and here we are, and
Almost ready.
almost ready. You'll be ready by October 10th.
Come heck or what? I'll be ready. I'm ready October 10th.
Jim Marcinko and Andrew Yost with us from the Fairfield County Fair. And gentlemen, congratulations on a great job this year. You worked hard, and I'm sure the board has worked very hard in making all this come about. So thanks to them and everything they do. And so we just hope for some good weather, and that's the one thing I know you can't control. But if you would,
we would try.
you would try.
Sure.
That'd be another job for Andrew. Concessionaires and cloud control.
That could be a number 7. That's my number 7. As fair manager designates,
Weather control.
That's right. Jim Marcinko, Andrew Yost from the Fairfield County Fair. Gentlemen, thank you. Best of luck and have just a wonderful fair. Knock 'em dead.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
very much.
We'll be back on Fairfield Today in a moment.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all the stuff. And we looked around, and I said, "There's our bank, right there."
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. The employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. respect for tradition, regard for change.
Life is unpredictable. That's why estate planning is important. Estate planning provides you comfort and peace of mind knowing that you're taking care of your loved ones and ensuring your legacy lives on just as you envisioned. You lived a life that is beautifully and uniquely yours. You deserve an estate planning attorney who understands that and creates a plan as unique as you and in the best interest of your loved ones. You deserve the local, trusted, experienced attorneys at Dagger Law.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today. Again, thanks to the good folks here at Fairfield Federal for allowing us to come in. And again, things are open again now. You never know where things will go in the future, but as of now, things are wide open here on the west side up at Cross Creeks Boulevard in Pickerington. Everything is moving strong here. The drive-thrus, the lobbies, everything's going good. So fairfieldfederal.com, good place to go for a lot of your financial needs and banking needs. We'll change gears a little bit here. It's been several years since we talked about Young Life Lancaster, and for those who don't know what that is, I have a good definition here. It's a worldwide interdenominational Christian missionary ministry whose vision is that every adolescent will have the opportunity to meet Jesus Christ and follow him. And to that end, we have our guests on with us now. We have Kelsey Bohl. Kelsey is to my right here. Kelsey is the area director for the local chapter of Young Life.
That's correct.
Very
I
good.
am.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
And on my far right is Ivan Smith. Ivan is a committee member and one of the people that I guess you oversee the local chapter of Young Life.
Well, yeah, the committee is responsible for raising money, for prayer, and that's probably the first, the most important aspect. But we need money. Even though we watch our nickels and dimes, we need money to run the ministry.
And we'll talk about that. Kelsey, let's go to you first. As I understand, and again, it's probably been, I would say, at least 4 years since we've had you on.
I think you're right.
And you are still Young Life, not old Young Life, but you are Young Life. But Young Life Ministry, you're still involved in it, but as I understand it, and maybe I knew this 4 years ago, you are a Bloom Carroll girl.
I am.
A Carroll girl. Bloom
Yes.
Carroll grew up there, went to school there, and you were actually a participant in Young Life as a student, and it's kind of evolved into now you're the queen of it all.
Well, I don't know if I would use the term queen, but yeah, I did get involved in Young Life when I was in high school as a student.
At Bloom Carroll?
At Bloom Carroll,
okay.
Yep. And then I went to Miami University of Ohio, and I stayed plugged into the ministry there, and I volunteer-led for them for 3.5 years, most of my college career. And then after graduating from Miami, I went on Young Life staff in Indiana. And I was there for about 4 years, and then I've been back here in Lancaster, which kind of feels close to home. I've been back in Lancaster for the last 6 years. The ministry as a whole, Young Life, the bigger ministry is about 80 years old, but in Lancaster, we're only 8 years old. And I've been with Young Life Lancaster for the last 6. And so
almost all of it.
Almost all of it, yes, almost all of it.
And to digress a moment, being an OU boy, I'm sorry you lack a formal education and had to go to Miami. You couldn't go to a fine institution of higher learning here. So, but I won't hold that against you here. You went to Bloom Carroll. We're very pleased about that. We love that up there.
Yes.
At any rate, so you've been here 6 years. You're now the area director here, and you work with young people in high schools and junior highs?
Currently just high school.
Okay.
So Young Life, the bigger ministry, has several branches, and one of our branches is Wildlife, a ministry for middle school students.
Okay.
But currently in Lancaster, we just do ministry with high school students. And specifically right now, our ministry focus is Lancaster High School. Our hope for Young Life Lancaster as a whole would be that it would become Young Life Fairfield County, and we would be in every school district in Fairfield County at some point. But right now, we are still relatively young at 8 years old compared to 80 years.
Just baby steps now.
Yes. So it is just laying those foundational blocks, one of which Ivan mentioned is growing our committee. And that is a group of adults who care about kids knowing who Jesus Christ is and care about their well-being as a whole and who they are as people. And our committee fulfills several functions, a couple of which Ivan mentioned is prayer and it's fundraising, but it's also helping us have credibility in the community. They are adults who are business leaders, family members. They usually are involved in churches or local businesses, and really they help us spread the word about Young Life Lancaster's mission and vision. And that can look so many different ways depending on their skills. We have people who help write thank you notes. We have people who help run events. Really, our committee does a lot of functions, but their overall goal is to support the health of the local ministry.
So if somebody would like to know more about becoming a committee member or being involved in doing what Ivan does here and the people that you need, how do they contact you or your organization?
Yes, so we have a website. It's actually been refreshed recently in the last couple months. It's lancaster.younglife.org. Would love for anyone who wants to know more about us and more about what we're doing to hop on our website. Again, it's lancaster.younglife.org. You can contact me directly from that website, and we will get you plugged in and share more about what we feel our passion is here for high school students in Lancaster.
And Ivan, you've been involved in this for at least the 5 or 6 years that I've known about with Kelsey here. What was it about this ministry that prompted you to get involved?
Well, my son was involved in Young Life.
As a student?
As a student, okay. Yes, and as a student at Miami University.
Okay.
Although
don't gang up on me now.
You're a little outnumbered.
I graduated from OU, so you're...
Okay, well, okay. Now we're kind of balanced here. Fair and balanced, that's what we want. Very good.
And I was, Jessie, my wife Jessie, and I were very involved in the startup of Young Life Lancaster 8 years ago. And that was something that I've believed in. And I look at kids today, and I look at when I was a kid. I like to say when I was a kid, we thought no-dose was a big deal. And now the kids are faced with drugs and lots of evil out there, and I think we've got lost kids, and Young Life can lead them to the Lord, and does, by the way. And just one thing I would like to mention is the relationship we have with churches. Young Life is not a church, and Young Life is not in competition with a church, which I think Kelsey can probably explain a little bit better, that relationship, than I can.
So again, your connection is with the church. That's how you got involved when you were up in Bloom Carroll, through a church?
No, not through a church, actually. So we're a parachurch ministry, and our heart is for kids who aren't plugged into churches. Okay. Our heart is for kids who don't know Jesus, who maybe didn't grow up in families where that was the central value. And so our heart is for the kids who are feeling lost and broken, and we want to reach them and share the good news of Jesus Christ with them. And so I got involved because a friend of mine knew the Young Life leaders at Carroll at the time, and she introduced me to them. And around the same time, I also got plugged into a church in Carroll. And that is still our hope in Lancaster, is that we don't believe that Young Life is a church. We believe we're a parachurch ministry, and we really want the kids and students who are involved in our ministry to get plugged into local churches.
So you would connect, let's say, with Lancaster High School. Scott Burry is the principal at Lancaster High School, and you would use that as a kind of the entrance in getting in to know some of the young people there and finding young people who are who need what you have to offer.
Yep. So what our kind of method is we run a weekly Bible study for kids who either are following Jesus or who want to know more. Mm-hmm. And so really our hope is to equip those kids to do ministry in their natural settings. So their high schools, on their teams, in their workplaces. And then we show up to where lost kids are. We go to football games, we go to the musicals, and we already have high school friends, and naturally, usually we get to know their friends. And then they get invited pretty organically to our events. And then our hope is that they're going to hear the gospel, sometimes for the first time, sometimes kids have a background. And then we really want to teach them how to live their life following Jesus and what that looks like. And since we are a ministry for high school kids, that's where the local church comes into play, right? Because the church is going to be here, we hope, forever. And we want kids to know what a local healthy congregation is and get them plugged in there. So we often are taking kids to church with us.
As Ivan mentioned, the challenges now that young people face are, in his estimation, and I would certainly agree with that, unbelievably huge compared to what he was or I was when we were in school. We thought they were challenges then, but in hindsight, they were not. But now these are true challenges that young people face today, and I assume some of the people you talk to are involved in some of those challenges.
Absolutely, and I think if anyone pays attention to what's been going on for the last year and a half, students feel so disconnected, so much more disconnected than they ever have before. The statistics about anxiety and depression are skyrocketing, and students are just lonely. Students are craving for people to know them. They are craving for community, true community, and a purpose. And I really do believe that Young Life is a tool that can offer that as a whole. I really do believe Jesus is the answer, not Young Life, but we hope that Young Life is a tool that points them to Jesus.
Gets them there.
Yeah.
And Ivan, we can talk about that too. How is this past year and a half with the COVID, with everything that goes on? I'm sure it altered how you folks did your day-to-day operation.
Lots of challenges for Kelsey and her team of volunteer leaders. Virtual club meetings instead of groups actually gathered in the same place, and the same with the campaigners, which is the Bible study. The format, always the same, lots of good, wholesome, and I might say loud fun that the kids have, and at the end, always a message from the Bible.
Loud fun, we want to emphasize that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's good, and it can be damaging to the hearing if you're old. But every event that Young Life has always concludes with a message from the Lord and a message from Scripture, and an invitation to follow Jesus. And what I like is kids do. They take it seriously. They're thirsty. They're hungry. They want hope, and they think they live in an era where there isn't much hope. So we need more people on our committee. We need prayers. We need people that will support the group with prayer and with the money that we need to run it. And we need more volunteer leaders to branch out into the other schools that Kelsey talked about. To get to a new school, we really need 2 additional volunteer leaders, and it has to be one male and one female, because the females work with the girls, and the guy works with the guys.
My guests are Kelsey Bohl. She's the area director for Young Life Lancaster, and Ivan Smith. Ivan is the committee member that's with us today that kind of helped us plug in and kind of connect all this. And Kelsey, as Ivan has indicated, you're probably zoomed out. I would guess you and all your committee members and all your young people, everybody is just didn't know what that word was 2 years ago, and now we didn't know what it, in some cases.
Right.
It's been very helpful, but I'm sure, as you talked about, young people just have found it very disconnecting in school and these things like that. It's hard to not be with people. They're very social animals.
Absolutely, and I think that social skills need to be developed in a healthy way as they're adolescents. And absolutely, I am one of the first people to admit I am so thankful for Zoom and for technology.
Sure.
And it has definitely been such a benefit to us over the last year and a half. But thankfully, we are back to meeting in person for now, for as long as we can, to keep it safe. We do our best. We take precautions, and kids' physical safety is one of our top values.
Sure.
And so we do take that seriously, but we also recognize that there is a real need for kids to be together, connecting in good, healthy conversations, growing, and we don't want to give that up, but we also want to do it safely.
Well, it's a challenge. I'm sure every day is unlike any other day you've ever faced. Every day is new challenges, and things happen all the time. So I guess the answer is just keep plugging away, and just one day at a time. And if somebody, again, sees something here that's kind of sparked some interest in their part, whether it's with a child of theirs or they know somebody that could utilize this program, how again is best to contact you?
Yeah, we would love for people to go to our website. It is lancaster.younglife.org. You can get connected to me directly on there. You can get connected to our social media, which will let you know what's going on. That's the best place. Tells you a little bit more about us. and would love for you to reach out if you have any questions or want to get connected.
Young Life Lancaster, Ivan, that's where it's at?
That's where it's at, baby.
Ivan and Kelsey here with Young Life Lancaster. Thank you for being with us. We hope we can get some new people, some new volunteers, some new young people. That would be the best of all worlds.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Paul.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks,
Ivan.
Paul.
Thank
Good
you.
to be with you.
Thanks for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.